20 million people around the world are using GLP-1 medications. And these are things like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, or even Zepbound. These are incredibly popular medications now because of how effective they seem to be at weight loss. But one of the main ways that they all work is by reducing a person's appetite. And if we have 20 million people all around the world eating less, then what is that going to do to the amount of money that people spend on food? Is this already having an impact on places that sell groceries, or restaurants, or fast food outlets? And how are they all going to respond? These are the questions that have been on my mind lately, and so today we're going to dive in and see how GLP-1s are changing the way we eat and how companies are actually choosing to respond to this. So, let's go. When someone starts using a GLP-1 medication, there's a few things that are going on in the body. The first is that your stomach will empty itself less often, which means you will likely feel fuller for longer. We also know that messages are sent to the brain to again make you feel fuller for longer. And so both of these things will result in a reduced appetite and a person eating less food, which is one of the things that lead to the weight loss that we are seeing on these medications. What this ends up looking like is people eating smaller portions. And what we've seen in the research is that people eat between 16 to 39% less food than they usually did before taking a GLP-1 medication. Now, people also eat less often, so snacks between meals tend to drop off, which is good because those snacks tend to be where a lot of the extra calories come from for people. And some people have also reported that their tastes change, so greasy, deep-fried foods become more unappealing, people crave them less. Now, the challenge that people on GLP-1 medications will be running into with these reduced appetites is actually making sure that they get in all of the important nutrients like protein, vitamins, minerals, with the smaller amount of food that they are eating, because it's quite easy to slip into a deficiency when you aren't eating enough. You may also have less energy because you may not be eating enough. Now, I will be doing a video in the near future that goes through how you can approach that, but for now, let's look at whether these reductions in appetite have impacted what people are spending on food. A study from 2024 found that in households that had at least one person using a GLP-1 medication, their grocery spend was cut or reduced by nearly 6%, with that going up to 8% in higher income households. Now, these changes happened within 6 months of someone starting a GLP-1, and so if that household spent $300 a week on groceries, that would mean that they spent $18 less. Now, this seems small, but over the course of a year, this ends up being about $900 per year that people are not spending at supermarkets, which essentially means $900 per household that supermarkets are losing. And I feel like knowing these big brand supermarkets, that's going to bother them. And it's estimated that 31% of GLP-1 users are spending less on their groceries every month. The big players, they will be paying attention to this. I'm pretty sure they're not happy. And if you're wondering what people are buying less of, it's the calorie-dense snack-type foods. So chips, cookies, bakery items, these are the types of foods that saw the biggest reduction. In one analysis, savory snack purchases were down 11%, with reductions also seen in confectionery and sugary drinks in particular as well. Now, purely from a health standpoint, which is my main point of view, I think this is really good to see because these are the types of food that tend to be nutrient poor but full of energy. So these are the foods that people keep consuming, they don't feel full from them, and they contribute to weight gain. They aren't giving people the nutrients that they need. So I would like to see people have less of these. Now, it's not just supermarkets getting hit. People are also eating takeout less. Spending on breakfast outside of the home reduced by 4%. And dinners outside of the home seem to have reduced by about 6%. So I think what this looks like is people having less add-ons to their meals or not upsizing to large meals as much. Now, I know at the start of the video I said that 20 million people around the world were using GLP-1s, but if we just zoom in on the United States for a little bit, which is where many of these studies and analysis are being done, it's about 13 million people that are using GLP-1s, and this number is only going to get higher. And if you put all of that together, it's projected that people will be spending about $48 billion less on food and beverages. Now, again, I believe this number is specific to America, but that is quite significant, and it's showing that GLP-1s aren't just impacting on people's weight and health, it's impacting on the economy and how people are spending money. And I think that the food industry is going to have to move pretty quickly to keep up with these changes. Now, some have already gotten started. The packaged food companies are leading the way here. They're starting to put out products that are labeled as high protein. This isn't exactly a new tactic though. I think every company has been doing that lately. But there are actually a few companies putting out products that are specifically targeted and labeled as foods for people taking GLP-1s. So for example, Nestle has launched its Vital Pursuit range. This is a range of frozen meals that have been designed specifically to support GLP-1 users. So they're being advertised as high protein, high fiber, having essential micronutrients, and in just the right portion size for people with reduced appetites. So I'll pull them up on the screen here, but as you can see, this one example here, they have a pizza which has 22 grams of protein. And they've also got a variety of bowls and sandwiches, again, labeled as being protein packed, and also conveniently having all the nutrients that you could ever need from a slice of pizza, apparently. Honestly, I think we will be seeing a lot more of things like this. And I'm not the biggest fan of just shoving all the nutrients that you think a person needs into a single meal like this. Getting nutrients from a variety of food will be better, but I can see how someone who doesn't have much time could benefit from these and may find these useful. I just think that this is the start of many brands going down this path. Some, though, are just simply adding the labeling GLP-1 friendly onto their meals, which is again to attract the large group of people that are using these medications. And look, this is just a theory at this point, but I wouldn't be all too surprised if it turns out that it's the companies that people tend to be spending less money on through snacks and foods, cookies, chocolates, sugary drinks. These brands and companies are probably the ones that are pivoting and making the GLP-1 friendly products so that they can recover the money that they are losing in those other food categories. Just remember and keep in mind that food companies don't always have your best interests at heart. While I look at these changes in the way that people are eating as a really good thing, less high calorie, nutrient poor foods is a good thing, there are people out there that will see this as a negative and something to combat, which we will see in the form of new products and new ways of marketing. So just be aware of this. If you are someone who's using a GLP-1, you're essentially their new target, and food companies are going to be doing whatever they can to get you to spend money on their products. That's just how it's always been. Awareness is the key, and I will continue to highlight any new marketing that I spot. I do also want to take a deeper look at these meals that claim to be GLP-1 friendly or to support GLP-1, so you may see a video in the future on that. Now, if there's anything out there that you have already noticed, please let me know. And if you use a GLP-1, what are your thoughts on things like that Vital Pursuit range that are pre-prepared meals tailored for people using GLP-1 medications? Or even those foods that say GLP-1 friendly. Are these actually useful to you? Do you like the idea of them or not? Let us know. I will see you in the next video, and until then, keep playing the long game.